Hi there, welcome to English Hacked. I hope you've been finding some of the material useful. Some really winning comments coming through. Thank you for those. This video is all about paper 2 essays. A huge part of your marks is reduced to this, right? 60% of the paper, not including the prelim section that's dedicated to this paper. So it's a skill that's a must-have if you want to improve your English overall. And my strategy here was partly to realize that everyone is in a different place and also with a different time horizon. It might be a week before your exam, it might be, you might have months that you can develop some of these skills. And so I'm going to first show you the strategic way to reflect on where you are and what you can maximize when you approach your essay. And then I will lead you down a strategic path of thinking for the area that I think you have most control over and which is most neglected in preparation for essays during your essay writing in the exam. So let's get on it. So to brighten up your day, there's nothing quite like a classic Venn diagram. These are the areas that you need to consider and should have in the back of your minds when you are writing your essays. It's a combination of your academic writing and your expression, and then your novel knowledge of the text, and then your argument and structure. And when you overlap all of these, you will eventually find the sweet spot. And I'll put that there as a 90% plus. And I know not everyone is aiming for that, right? You're just aiming for that little bit of improvement, that 5-10% improvement, but aiming for that sweet spot is still what you want to do. So let's have a look at reflecting on these areas and look at the time you have before your exam to see what you can maximize on. So I'm going to be a bit brutally honest about this first area, academic writing and expression. If you have a month, a week, days before your exam, you're not going to improve much on this focus, right? So I would just accept that your writing level is where it is at and maybe take on a few hints, try and read some good essays. One of them I will attach below as a model essay that we're going to look at for Othello, but it applies to any kind of essay writing during your exam. And you've got to just realize that this skill grows over time, right? There's so many things involved in it, as you can see. You've got to kind of reject being dependent on large language models like ChatGPT. You've got to really struggle again and again to edit and improve and your expression of your ideas. It's a long journey, and you've got to interact with your teachers. The incentive for this, if you are in your Matric year and you've got months ahead, you can deliberately improve in this. Let me know if you need videos of tips, but you really need to work with your teacher to get feedback and improve, and that back and forth is really a requirement here. Strategize, look at this area. Do you need it? Don't you? And you can move on. As an incentive, I will say, I think this is probably the biggest all-around skill that you're taking out of your academic education into university and into the job market later on. So because of things like ChatGPT, it's also an area that is most under threat. So I think, if I think about it carefully, it'll be a real distinguishing characteristic in candidates for universities and later on for job markets, because I think it's going to become a rarer skill. In terms of your essay writing, I expect that this area is going to be the one that's going to deteriorate the most with the influence of the technology in our world. We'll see, it's just an idea. So the real good news here is you have far more control over your knowledge of the novel and the text. I mean, if you've got a week to go, you can still make vast improvements in this area. And I think you spend about 80% of class time just recapping this area, right? So if you've paid attention, you probably know a lot about it. You can just make sure that you know it by revising some of the basics, and it will pop again into your mind because learning is about repetition. My advice here is don't spend too long just on this section of preparation. There is more you can prepare, and I'm going to go into that. But in terms of dealing with this preparation, I challenge you to, not just read through notes and read through study guides just before your exam, in the week before your exam. I would try and schedule a coffee or a video meet with your friends to discuss, if you could, for an hour, 2 hours, just discuss, and you'll see in the Venn diagram there some of the key things that you should know about the novel, right? That discussion, actually engaging with the content like that, will just really cover you for your knowledge of the novel and the text, and then be deliberate in those short quotes that you use. And also something that people always forget about and is just pinpoint moments that you can reread from the text, and that really primes you to get into the feel of the novel as you step into your exam. If you can feel the intensity of some of the moments that you have read and reread and bring that into your exam, it can make all the difference. Now we get to what I consider to be the magic ingredient of the essay, the part that is most neglected in preparation and the one that is most poorly understood. So I'm going to help you understand it, see how you can use it as you write your essay to make probably the biggest improvements. Because if you focus just on your novel and your knowledge of the text, you can get an essay that is 50 to 65% just based on that kind of knowledge, really. They're quite generous in the IEB for that. But an essay, a literary essay, is about owning your opinion and your argument. So if you follow with me here, I'll show you what the difference is, how you can get there, and how you can make improvements to your structure and argument. I do just want to chime in that this is relative, so you need to be honest, reflect on where your skills lie. Most candidates can definitely improve in this argument and structure area, but the debaters, sometimes I've seen strong debaters in the classroom, and they can actually overcompensate. For them, everything, and if you're one of these, be aware of it, everything is about the argumentation. And sometimes those candidates think they can get away with pure argument loops rather than bringing enough knowledge and text into their essay, in which case, if you're one of those candidates, it might be the knowledge and actual reading of the text that you need. Think about that rather than the argument and structure.